So about 2 months ago now, I did a video about the neurotypicals not being okay.
Here is to reward them with a smile. So when they do look up, give them a reassuring smile.
And apparently they're still not okay. So I've kind of got a collection of things that neurotypicals have done / said in various spaces online that are not really okay. I want to disclaimer it before I start this video that obviously it's not all neurotypicals. You know, I'm married to one. There are good neurotypicals out there. If you've met one neurotypical person, you've met one neurotypical person. Remember that. I mean, some of these people might not even be neurotypical. I don't know. I haven't seen their medical records. I haven't seen the insides of their brains. You never know. To start off with, we have this viral tweet that I came across from Dope and Chill. You're not autistic. You're just white and annoying. Doesn't that sound familiar? Sounds like a video title that I would do. I hope that this was not aimed at me. This is the problem. I sometimes on the internet when I'm in autism spaces now, I stumble across things that are about me. A lot of the time it's nice. I'm like, oh yeah, people watch my videos. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh. But I came across some not so nice things the other day, and it involved the clips of me stimming that I put in the video about infantilizing autism when I was talking about someone else who'd been bullied for stimming, someone called Sienna. Then people was trying to say that my stimming looked so fake. I didn't really read too much, but unfortunately I didn't realize that it was about me until too late. Anyway, we'll just get back to pretending nobody watches my videos. So obviously you're not autistic, you're just white and annoying. I mean, what about autistic people who are not white? Do we just believe that all autistic people are white? I know that's the stereotype and that's the representation that we see most of the time in the media, but no, not all autistic people are white. According to the CDC, Black children are being diagnosed more now. We're starting to see that gap closing. Absolutely. Autism is not just a white thing. The first comment is, finally, someone said it. And then someone says, what if I'm all of the above? I fear that's actually the clinical definition of being white and annoying. Historically, mostly white boys and probably white boys from a maybe more wealthy background, they have featured more heavily in the research. So yeah, in a way, the diagnostic criteria is based around that image of autism. So you know what, maybe the diagnostic criteria could just be reduced to you're white and annoying. Someone tagged Elon Musk ableism, but make it woke. I don't read this as particularly woke in quotation marks. It kind of seems like a bit of ableism and a bit of racism as well. Someone said annoying just means person I don't like who isn't doing anything morally wrong. So the rest of these posts actually come from the subreddit r/r the NT, okay? NT meaning neurotypical. And I was actually emailed by one of the moderators who told me about the subreddit. So thank you so much. Dedicating this video to you. The first post that we have is autism is caused by ... using smartphones and text messaging. I think that's Healthy Gamer. Is that what he's called? I think he's called Dr. K. I've seen him interview people and stuff, but I'm not super familiar with his content. As far as I'm aware, I think generally he's quite well liked. He's a psychiatrist. We've not had a great track record with the psychiatrists that we've reacted to talking about autism on this channel.
So people are scratching their heads trying to figure out, where is all this autism coming from? Well, look around in the population. Are the rates of obesity going up? Are the rates of diabetes going up? The answer is unequivocally yes.
But you know, let's give Dr. K a chance.
Autism's on the rise.
Okay, we're saying autism is on the rise. I mean, immediately gives me slight red flags. That's what Dr. Chris Palmer said in the other video that I reacted to, the psychiatrist who's quite keen on keto and diet to cure various mental illnesses and autism apparently as well, which obviously is not a mental illness. I find it a bit disingenuous when people say autism is on the rise. I think I would prefer to say autism diagnosis is on the rise, because we know that a lot more people are being diagnosed. We know that that number is going up consistently over time. More children are being diagnosed, and then we've also got more awareness through social media, and more people are certainly being diagnosed later in life. There may well be that more people are also being born autistic. I don't know. What we do know for sure is a lot more people are being diagnosed, and I just feel like it's kind of manipulative to be like autism is on the rise. It feels fear-mongering to me. It certainly was when Dr. Chris Palmer said it, but let's see what this doctor has to say. He's a different person.
Autism's on the rise. The Venn diagram between the average person and someone with autism is like overlapping more.
The Venn diagram between a normal person and an autistic person is overlapping more. Do we have any evidence for that though? What are we actually saying there? That people are seeming more autistic? Is there any evidence that the general population is showing more autistic traits. More people who previously would have been seen as, oh, you're normal, but you're just a bit quirky, or you're normal, but you just have these weird mental health things that go on sometimes. More people like that are being diagnosed as autistic because we're more aware of camouflaging, of masking, of autistic people being able to cover up their traits. Obviously, you do something that's weird, you might get feedback from the people around you that, oh, that's weird. And then as a survival response, you go, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And once you've lived on Earth for, a couple of decades, at least, you've probably built up skills to present yourself in a way that's going to result in the best outcomes for you in this, world, in this society, the way we live. And even though that might damage your mental health, you may suppress autistic traits. We know about that now. So is that what he means? I mean, even if people are becoming more socially anxious and, maybe more isolated due to the way society is set up and, more people working from home, etc., that doesn't make you autistic. I know that in order to be diagnosed autistic, you have to, meet social deficits, but there are also other criteria that you have to meet for autism, like having very intense interests and things like stimming, all the stuff that they call repetitive behavior. It's not just, I'm not good at socializing and therefore I'm autistic. Are more people developing sensory issues and things like that?
And that's primarily through things like technology use. So if we look at some of the features of autism, it's things like difficulty with social connections, difficulty with empathy.
He said difficulty with empathy. Okay, so we've got a very outdated view of what autism is here. I want to talk more about autism and empathy. I think it deserves, probably several full videos in itself. But there are a lot of autistic people, me included, who feel like we have too much empathy. Autistic people can experience things very, very intensely, and that can be, our emotions as well. I cannot deal with watching something that's like, secondhand embarrassing, that kind of stuff. It goes through me. If I see somebody upset, if my child is crying, it like breaks my heart, and I'm like, I need to fix it now. I just feel like empathy differs from person to person. There are different types of empathy, and different people have different levels. I don't think it's that neurotypical people are more empathetic or autistic people are more empathetic necessarily. I think it just differs from person to person, and I think it's dangerous to make a sweeping statement about one group of, oh, they feel no empathy. It could lead you to kind of dehumanize that group. They're not fully human. They don't fully feel for other people.
And unfortunately, text messaging isn't just as good as in-person interaction. The brain is very efficient, so anything it doesn't use, it loses. So if I start communicating with people in the absence of body language, tone, and facial expression, the gears in my brain that interpret that stuff become rusty. And so then what happens is when I go into a social situation,
I'm now autistic all of a sudden. I don't know. I guess he's just saying that more people who are not autistic are showing more difficulties with socializing, which is then similar to autistic people. But at the start, he also said autism is rising. Unless this has been edited together,
I'm no longer reassured by all of this information because that circuit in my brain is rusty, which then means I become anxious. Now I'm thinking, is this person like me? Not like me? Oh, when should I enter this conversation? These people are talking back and forth and I have something to say, but should I butt in? We're interpreting social signals less well.
I mean, even if I socialize every second of the day as an autistic person, I'm still not going to be very good at that. I can get better. We need to find some neurotypical people who spend a lot of time on their phones and see if they feel like they're struggling with back and forth. Are they monologuing about their special interests all of a sudden when they go out socializing?
We're interpreting social signals less well because we're using online communication. And this looks closer and closer to autism.
There's a Kermit the Frog thing at the end.
It's amazing. You are 100% wrong. I mean, nothing you've said has been right.
Okay, yeah, so somebody said he's not saying technology causes autism at all, though, question mark. He's saying that autistic people lean too much on digital text-based communication. Their ability to process additional nonverbal information in face-to-face conversation atrophies, which can look like autism. We can all agree if you run a mile every day, then stop for 2 years, and then start again, it will be harder to run a mile than it was the last time you did it right. It's the same concept, but applied to the brain. I think that's kind of true, but most people, like particularly younger people, they have to go out to school. A lot of people have to go into work. There is more working from home now, but you still often do like online meetings. I mean, maybe that has different effects on the brain and you process that a bit differently. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it would have zero effect, but I just think lumping any sort of difficulties with socializing with autism or then having autistic traits, I just feel like that's a bit iffy. And then this person said that autism is on the rise, quote, could have easily been from a different context. Okay, it cuts immediately after. Let's have a look at the main video. So this is a 3-hour podcast from the iced coffee hour. So there's a chapter at like 1 hour 36 minutes in why ADHD and autism are more common in today's world is what the chapter is called. Let's see if this is actually what he's trying to imply.
Okay, so statistically, let's understand a couple things about autism. Autism's on the rise, okay? Now, we don't really know if it's on the rise because we're detecting it more, or it's actually like increasing in the percentage of the population. So are we catching cases? Are we getting better at catching cases, which is certainly true? Or is it actually like increasing in the whole? I think both are correct.
Yeah, okay, that was much better than how it was cut together in that short clip with him just being like, autism is on the rise and text messages, you know? That was a lot better.
So if you look at one of the things that correlates with like autism spectrum diagnosis, so like,
Hey, you didn't say disorder, you nearly did and you didn't. I appreciate that because, you know, it is just so commonly used.
like usage of antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications during pregnancy correlates with it. Ultimately a very small effect, but it does have an effect. Maternal and paternal age.
I mean, yeah, that is true as far as I know. We do have some correlation, but we do also know that autism is genetic, and that's the one thing that we are very, very sure about. So I feel like whenever these things are said, we should probably emphasize that, yeah, we do know as well that autism is genetic.
So we're all having kids later. So I think that's like, there's some data that suggests that that's possible. But I think the reason that all y'all are testing high.
This group of people were saying that they all took some sort of autism test. They didn't say what it was online, and it told all of them that they were kind of on the cusp, and like they got a kind of like maybe in the middle score. So then I assume he's going to go on to talking about the texting thing here. So like, this is why you scored higher, or scored as if you had, you know, more autistic traits or whatever. It might be because you're spending a lot more time on your phone, and maybe society in general is just starting to resemble autistic people more.
So I think as a society, we're developing features that the Venn diagram between the average person and someone with autism is like overlapping more.
Okay, so then he goes on to say everything that we saw there. All right, well, I'm glad that he did kind of say that, you know, we are getting better at catching cases. We are getting much, much better at that. We should probably emphasize. And we are starting to diagnose more Black autistic children. We are starting to diagnose more AFAB individuals. And like, so many people did just slip through the cracks, and the older you are, kind of like, you know, the more people slip through the cracks in your generation, you know, the more likely, I suppose, in a way, you are to have been missed as an autistic person. But yeah, obviously, again, it is important to remember that autistic traits are human traits. Autistic people are human as well. So you can also relate to things about the autistic experience, particularly if you're not neurotypical, but you're not autistic, you know, you may relate more to the experience, and that's fine. We're all people. Oh no. Autism Speaks cement mixer. It says Autism Speaks Canada. Canada did this. Not the Autism Speaks cement mixer again with the crying face. Again, it's back. It's been around before. Is that legit, or is someone edited that? It looks like a real photograph. Autistic people can speak cement mixer, someone asked. As an autistic people, I can confirm. Cement mixers are Canadian trains. Oh, it all makes sense now. Maybe we should all develop a special interest in cement mixers today. Alas, we can't really choose our special interests, but you know, if we could, we would obviously all choose cement mixers. Okay, I want to know if this is real. I'm gonna Google Autism Speaks cement mixer. We had the Autism Speaks police car not that long ago, but is the cement mixer real? Okay, there's a page on Autism Speaks Canada. We are now entering the Autism Speaks website. Apologies. Okay, Daniel is the president of Metricon Ready Mix Corp. This video was sponsored by Cement now, apparently. A trusted concrete supplier that delivers ready mix concrete directly to customers in the GTA, Ontario. Daniel has always believed in helping children in need and developed a unique give back program to support Autism Speaks Canada. Well, he sounds well intentioned. And the many children touched by autism. Touched by autism. Instead of saying you are autistic or you have autism or whatever it is that you like to say, just say I was touched by autism. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be touched by autism. He created the Autism Speaks Canada truck, which is dedicated to autism awareness, and for every cubic meter of concrete it pours, his company donates $1 in support of our mission. How many cubic meters of concrete does one cement mixer pour per day? I know there'll be somebody with a special interest in cement mixers, so if you could tell me, I would be grateful. How much are they donating? I don't know. Working with your organization has been a great experience. I see how much everyone truly puts forward so much care for children in need of help. Every time I read children in need, I just think of the charity Children in Need. And John and the team have so much enthusiasm. Good for you, John. Next time you are building or renovating and in need of cement, think of contacting Daniel. To learn more or book a free estimate, please visit their website. I think his intentions and his heart was in the right place. I sometimes really wish I could go back to being a child and I had this very black and white view of, you know, good and bad, as most children do, and then autistic people, we can be extra sometimes, black and white, particularly when we're younger, I think. And I just felt like, you know, all charities are good. Charities are great. And I just wish I could go back to that sometimes, you know, where you just will be like, if I donate, I've done a great thing, and I know it's going to make the world a better place. If you don't know much about Autism Speaks, they are a very controversial autism charity. You can, if you do a quick search, you'll be able to find out more information about it. I have a video on my Patreon where I talk a bit more about Autism Speaks, and I also react to this really horrible advert they made in 2009 called I Am Autism on there as well. They, historically been very fear-mongery about autism. That's kind of how they've brought in donations, like it's going to ruin your life and it's on the rise. Again, this idea that soon all of your children are going to be touched by autism. It's going to be your neighbor's children next, and there was this kind of narrative. Even if you ignore, the history and the years and years that they researched vaccines, even when we were very clear that vaccines were not the cause of autism. Their spending is not great, as a lot of it goes on salaries when compared to other autism charities. So, there are a lot of other people I feel like you could support. If you want a good autism charity, I actually have a thread on my community tab where people commented all the autism charities that they like, so you could go and take a look at that. Sorry, Daniel, I will not be having your cement services, but seeing as, I don't know if you do international work, probably not, so that's probably fine with you, I would say. So this one is the antinatalism sub, having a normal one. Lesbian couple does IVF and gives birth to 3 autistic kids. So this seems like we're going to be having a bit of homophobia sprinkled in with some ableism. I'm losing my shit. I just found out that 2 acquaintances, a lesbian couple who did IVF treatment a couple of years ago and had triplets, just had their 3 kids diagnosed with autism. The 3 of them. I mean, you're so obsessed with having biological children that you go through all the trouble of impregnating yourself, not very nice language, at a higher probability of twins, triplets, and thus higher probability of risking their existence. Now that you have ruined 3 lives forever, and yours as well, when you just had the natural option of adopting or not having any children at all, human selfishness knows no end. So I don't really understand what they're trying to say here. So they did IVF, they just had their 3 kids diagnosed with autism, the 3 of them. All 3 of the triplets were touched by autism. This is obviously, pretty ableist, the way they're acting as if, that's the end of the world. I mean, you're so obsessed with having biological children that you go through all the trouble of impregnating yourself. Why should people not be able to have biological children just because they're not straight? You went through all the trouble of impregnating yourself at a higher probability of twins, triplets, because there is a higher probability of multiples when you go through IVF, and thus higher probability of risking their existence. I don't know what this means. Is it the fact that, pregnancies are often shorter when you're having multiples and you may have to have a cesarean? Like, yeah, twin pregnancies and triplet pregnancies definitely can be more high risk. It's like they're trying to imply that it's their fault that these children are autistic somehow. Are they trying to imply that having multiples made it more likely that your children were going to be autistic? As if like maybe something happened during labor and they were injured and that made them autistic. Like, obviously that's a horrible way of thinking. I've researched it to try and see if there's any higher likelihood of twins or triplets being autistic. All you find when you search that is that if, you have one child that's autistic, you're more likely to have another child that's autistic because, genetics. And twins as well, if you have identical twins, they're more likely to both be autistic or all 3 be autistic because, genetics, not because they all went through a difficult labor, but because they're all genetically linked to each other and they're autistic. Someone said, this is the damage caused by I Am Autism in quotation marks. So that's talking about that advert from 2008. People thinking that your life will be miserable and forever ruined if you're autistic or if your kid's autistic. Holy hell, whoever wrote that in all caps, they're not your kids. I know, it's just acquaintances. Why are you so invested? Someone commented, least ableist antinatalism post. I wonder if on that subreddit there are a lot of people, kind of using autism as a reason to not have children. Like, oh, if you have children, they might be autistic and you might have to care for them. So this is a post originally from an Instagram page called Well-Meaning Neurotypicals. You can't spell autism without USA. And we have a teddy bear in military uniform. And then they've captioned it, continue the pun in the comments. So the person who posted it said, you can't spell autism without Tim either. The top comment, you can't spell autism without UTI either. Neither can you without STI. You can't spell autism without STEM either. Exactly, you're so right. You can't spell autism without autism. That is so true. That is deep. That is very deep. Big if true. If you would like to see more stuff from me, I do make more stuff over on my Patreon, which you can join. The lowest tier is $4 a month. When you join there, you also get access to the lovely Discord community as well, called the Antisocial Club, where you can chat to other autistic people, other people who suspect they might be autistic, or other people who just like autistic people, just nice people. We have my husband in there. He is a neurotypical person who I think most people in the server would agree is okay most of the time, except from when he used used too much baking powder in a pizza. And if you missed the last video I did reacting to neurotypical people, okay, there was a lady who was very fond of eye contact in that one, and autism was also a demon. It was not such a good thing to be touched by autism in some people's mind within that video. Also within this video as well, sadly. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye.